Today's education requirements are that any learner who has completed a program of education requires to be fit for purpose in the area or domain where they have been educated or trained on. And therefore, the traditional methods of assessment using assignments and memorization of facts no longer become relevant. What assessment requires is an authentic and contextual assessment that is fit for real world purposes. And so, in this lecture, we will explore how we need to reinvent the whole assessment framework, especially in the light of generative AI, which is being incorporated and integrated and used by all stakeholders in education. We are very familiar with the traditional assessment methods of assignments, essays, multiple choice questions. All these are very traditional. However, with the onset of generative AI, we are not sure whether the students have really learned what is needed as per the learning outcomes. So the innovative assessments that we're talking about has to be real world, has to be authentic, has to be based on performance of a particular task. And that is why learning outcomes have to change to higher order thinking and incorporate certain performance. And so we will see now how innovative assessment has to be incorporated into the modern education programs. So, what are the core features of innovative assessment? Has to be real world application. It has to be a process in which, following the constructivist model of learning, where there has to be collaborative learning between the various members of a team. Today, in most functions in society, we require collaborative team effort. Technology has to be integrated. Technology is here to stay, and especially generative AI. So we need to see how we can incorporate AI into the learning and assessment process. The evaluation has to be very comprehensive and involve just not knowledge, skills, but attitudes and application. And it has to be personalized to the learner. So, in real world assessment, there must be relevance. There must be relevance to authentic problems. If you're just asking students to regurgitate knowledge and information, that's not going to be relevant. There's no phase and content validity for the student. The student has to be able to know that this is an authentic problem that the education is solving. And here it is, we may have to engage the stakeholders who may be involved in the learners' placement in the community. So community connections are important, and it must be aligned. The knowledge skills that we are teaching the learner should be aligned to that of the need in the career and in the community. This brings us to performance-based assessment. So we need to see what is the performance required in the community. And so that's why sometimes when we design learning programs, it has to start from the community, from the where the person would be placed to use that knowledge and skills that he acquired during the education program. And here is where we need to work backwards and to create learning outcomes based on the performance that is required in the community. And here is where project-based learning becomes useful, and here the communication between the potential employers, the community's needs to be taken into account as we design the program. The part of the assessment is so as to see whether the person is fit for purpose in the community. So these assessments therefore need to track the patient's acquisition and curation of knowledge, skills, and attitudes. And here is where digital portfolios become a useful form of a formative assessment of an individual's growth and development. And the role of simulation becomes very helpful here. And here, especially with generative AI, there are various ways in which we could create simulation of real world solution to help students get ready for the real world. And so the assessment has to be therefore designed in such a way all these are taken into account. So technology is here to stay, especially generative AI, and generative AI has to be seen as a tool to enable the whole process of assessment. So the use of technology like immersive technologies can help students to be able to simulate real world situation without the cost and the risk of entering into the real world in a safe environment. Immersive technology do cost, but there are alternative means of creating low level simulation that can help with the learning and the assessment. So adaptive assessment platforms are very important for personalized learning. Remember, assessment is not only a measure of learning, it's a form of learning. Through the process of formative assessment, learners can learn about the knowledge and skills required in the program. So digital platforms that can help with this include generative AI, which can not only simulate but also record the development of the individual. So we need to understand of various kinds of tools that can be integrated into the production of a digital portfolio that bears evidence to the learning that has occurred in the learner. And so creative things like the use of generative AI to video technology, direct observation of procedures performed on site through simulators can all be a rich source of assessment, especially formative assessment for the individual. One of the challenges will be the implementation of collaborative assessment. And here is where the work of group projects can be very useful, especially with large number of students. This can also be a method of ensuring there is collaborative practice. In any educational program for any learner to excel in, he requires effective learning methods, he requires effective communication tools, and it also requires effective collaboration. And these group projects can show all these features. There also is a need for collaborative reflection, as most society and communities and employers will require team approaches towards achieving the goals of the institution. So collaborative activities and reflection needs to be incorporated into the assessment, and the very importance of near peer educators, i.e. their peers can be teachers, they can show this, and the peer feedback can be an important tool to see learning, collaboration, and team activities. And also this is an opportunity for communication. How effective are they able to communicate within the team and without the team? And this is where the use of presentation and technology can be used as form of assessment. So transitioning to this innovative assessment is a bold step. A lot of educational programs are hesitant to try new stuff. So we need to start small, work with small modules, micro learning objects with micro assessments. And most important is to ensure that the colleagues can collaborate, they buy in, and here is where stakeholder engagement is important, that all stakeholders are involved directly or indirectly in the creation of innovative assessment with the use of technology. And clear development of clear rubrics is very, very important, and here is where engagement of the stakeholders to develop these rubrics, including the community and the potential employers, to design so that the performance is matching to that of the needs of the community. And most important, technology will help us to gather and analyze large amounts of data points in the progress of the individual as they go through their learning journey.